Okay, shalom everyone, and welcome to week 38 of Coffee and Connection. I'm really excited to be here with you today because I have such an amazing topic that I want to talk about. And it really came up, it came up organically on a call that I was having with a client. We started talking about this topic, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hear these questions all the time. This is such an important coffee and connection topic, especially for this week, right? Right before we go into Rosh Hashanah, when, of course, we're thinking so much about like, what do I want to change and who do I want to be? And, all the different topics that can come up around this idea of change, around this idea of working on ourselves, around the idea of how to work on ourselves and how much support do we need and how do we actually do it? And the kinds of questions that were coming up on that call and the kind of questions that I've heard so many times is this question of like, why is it that it's not easy to just know what we should do, right? Shouldn't I just be able to figure it out by myself? Like, why do I have to come to Coffee and Connection and listen to podcasts and get coaching and have all these talks with my friends and, read all these books and listen to all these shows? Why? Why is it so hard to do things in the right, like, why is it so hard? Sorry, I'm just gonna mute everyone. Why is it so hard to get it right? Why doesn't it come, why don't relationships and all of this stuff just come naturally? And that question, like, shouldn't I just be able to figure it out by myself? I think this is such an important question and such an important topic because when we're asking that question, first of all, we're already assuming that the fact that we haven't figured it out for ourselves means that something might be wrong with me, something might be wrong with my husband, something might be wrong with my relationship, something I have to be embarrassed or feel ashamed of the fact that I'm not able to figure it out for myself. And it also kind of questions whether or not we're even doing the right thing by investing so much in our relationships, right? Whether it's time or money or effort or energy. Why should it be like this? Like, maybe it should be simple and easy. Hold on. I'm just going to. Okay. Maybe it should just really be easy. And this is so important. I want to share this, talk about this from a spiritual perspective, from a psychological perspective, from an environmental perspective. Let's just start with the spiritual, okay? Rav Berkowitz, I'm finally getting, every year I'm like, I'm going to get through the whole series. And I start like in Of. I'm still like on session 2. Like they're each so long, but they're amazing. And what I heard him talking about earlier this week was the crazy truth that we as human beings, on the one hand, we have a soul and we want growth and we want more and we want to, always improve on ourselves and like be our best. But we're also part of nature. We're also physical and finite. And the nature of the physical world is that it's heavy. And that it sinks to its like lowest, easiest states, right? We think that, if we want to grow, that it's enough to just want it. I want to have a good marriage. That should be enough. There's kind of like this picture that's been painted for all of us that like two people get married and they love each other and they're good people and they go into this house together and they should just figure it all out for themselves. Because don't you want to have a good relationship? Like, aren't you good people? But the truth is that what do we know about having a good relationship? What do we know about what that looks like? Literally, what do we know? We know what we saw in our homes, what we saw on TV, what we read in books, and the and the like moments we might have seen in other people's houses where we didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. And none of us grew up in perfect homes, right? And what we saw, what about what we see on TV? Is that real? Is that right? So we think we should just know it all, but where would we have learned it from? Right? We're realizing within ourselves that it's normal and it's okay to not just know, right? We only know what we've learned and what we've experienced, right? And that idea of, well, if I want to grow, it should come on its own. It's important to realize that growth is not organic. It's not intuitive. What's organic and intuitive is being sedentary. It's, like doing the least amount that we can. That's what comes natural. That's our innate physical nature. So when we tell ourselves, I should be able to do it on my own, we need to look at, why do we believe that? And is that even true? Should we be able to do it on our own? Right? How would we know? Right there, it's amazing what we were just talking about today on what I was doing a call with a group that we were talking about the ways that fear can affect us, the way that fear can drag us down and keep us stuck. And just thinking about all the different things that can be going on in our head that can stop us and get in the way of actually being the women that we want to be and actually making our lives about meaning, right? We stand, on Rosh Hashanah, we say we want to make Hashem our king. We want to make it that our whole life is for the purpose of God and serving him and being our best selves. And then there's all this stuff that gets in the way. What is that stuff? It's our fears, it's our limiting beliefs, it's our regrets, it's our stories, it's the stuff that we learn that doesn't work. All of that is going on in our minds. It's what we're making everything mean. And that is what's getting in the way of being the women that we want to be. And no matter how much we might want to get rid of it and want to clear it away so we can be the women that we want to be, very often we don't even see it on our own. We can't even recognize it. If we're just repeating the things that we saw our parents doing, or if we're just doing what we saw other people, what we saw on TV, what we always thought was the right way to do it, how will we know if there's something that's not working? How will we know if there's something that we could do differently that would work better if we're not open to learning it, right? So when we're asking this question of, shouldn't I intuitively know? If you really believe that I should be able to figure it out, I want to teach you 2 tools that you can use whenever you're shoulding on yourself, right? When you're I should be able to figure this out. There's 2 different approaches that are shared in coaching to help people deal with these shoulds. And they really both work very well here. Okay. One, and this is the one that I really like. This is the one that I use the most and I think is really effective for ourselves in helping us shift out of the shoulds. And that is from changing the should to a want. Okay. So instead of I should be able to figure this out, and think of how that feels. Like, what does it feel when you tell yourself, I should be able to figure this out? Does it feel heavy or does it feel good? Is it inspiring or is it holding you back? Okay. And then I invite you to try on, I want to be able to figure it out. What happens when you think of it that way? I want to be able to figure it out. For me, if I'm telling myself I should be able to figure it out, I'm going to feel like I'm beating myself up, like there's something wrong with me. And that's going to make me feel like, why even bother? Nothing's going to change anyways. I feel so overwhelmed that I'll do nothing and just feel low and not confident. But if I want to be able to figure it out, then I'm going to get curious. How? If I want to figure this out, I want to be able to know what change can look like. So then I can ask myself, so what can I do? Right? What can I read? What can I learn? Who can I talk to? What skills can I learn to pick up? Right? What do I need to figure out in my own mind? It allows us to move into a positive, productive, empowering place. Okay. And the other thing that you can use is you can ask yourself the question, well, who says? Who says I should be able to figure it out for myself? Where did I learn that? Who says? Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Right. And as we said, all roads are kind of pointing to the reality that although we'd like to believe that we can do things intuitively, that things can be easy, that things should be, just come to us naturally. What if that is thinking like too much of ourselves and really not in reality with the nature of people, with humans, right? And that's when we can start to recognize that really, in reality, we have no clue what we really need because we are so in deficit of an understanding. Let me give a good example. Okay, let's compare it to food because we love eating. Okay, I love eating. If you if you would tell me like intuitively when I'm in a bad mood or when I have my period or when I'm tired or when I'm hungry, what do I intuitively think will make me feel satisfied and happy? Well, the things that intuitively, right, that physically our body is going to crave in order to feel good and satisfied is generally going to be sugar, fat, and salt, right? It's going to be carbs. It's going to be heavy stuff that's going to allow us to feel, like satisfied, right? That's intuitive, right? Intuitively, we're going to reach for the food that's going to give us the most energy and that brings us the most pleasure. Sugar, salt, and fat light up our pleasure sensors and make us feel happy, right? I'm quotating that for anyone who's listening on the phone, right? But really, what does our body need when we're hungry? Does our body really need sweet chips, right? What does our body need when we're hungry? Our body really needs vitamins and nutrients and healthy whole food, right? That's going to really fill us up and really give us what we need. If we could just intuit what if it's the same spiritually and emotionally and in our relationships, right? And what happens when we stop beating ourselves up or when we stop thinking that something's wrong with us for needing extra help, for not knowing on our own? And instead of that feeling be something negative, like I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I don't know what's wrong with me. How come I can't make this marriage work or I can't figure out how to be happy or productive? I really invite you to think of this. Think of what we're talking about here as something empowering and inspiring because it means that there's nothing wrong with you. for not being able to figure it out until now. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling stuck. There's nothing wrong with you for the fact that you haven't been able to figure it out. It's just that we don't know on our own, right? Intuitively, we want to do nothing and just express how we feel all the time and be in whatever mood we're in and not have to overthink things and worry about what we're making things mean. We just want to think and feel whatever comes to us. We want to be as comfortable as possible, which means we want to work as little as we have to. And I'm not saying this in a degrading way. This is our nature. And that's why we take a whole month before Rosh Hashanah to think about this. Wait a second, right? I say every Rosh Hashanah that I want to make my life all about Hashem. And every day I remind myself of that. But is that what I'm really doing? Am I really living my life in integrity? And if I'm not, why is that? And we give ourselves a month to think about it and get curious and to take things on that will help us and to go to classes and to get inspired, right? Some of you joined Absolutely Feminine, right, this month to make a real difference in the coming year. And I applaud you. And I can't wait to have our second call tomorrow. I'm so excited to keep this going. And when we do that, what are we saying? We're saying that it is not enough to want change. It's not enough to want to be a better person. It's not enough to want a better relationship. We have to realize that wanting it is not going to make it happen. The only way we're going to make it happen is if we realize what's not working, get rid of those patterns, and replace it with what will, which means we also have to learn what will work and what will allow you to create what you want. And that's a process. When we realize that eating sugar, salt, and fat is not going to actually give our body what it needs, and we start to focus on, whole grains and vegetables and protein, and in the beginning, our body doesn't necessarily feel good. In the beginning, we might feel hungry and moody. Sometimes you don't even feel good. And we may think, see, it's hard. It doesn't feel good. It must be that that my body really needs that stuff. And this diet isn't good for me, this way of eating. But you know what? When we go off of anything that isn't good for us, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to be easy. But that doesn't mean that we're not moving in the right direction, right? When we want change, and we make an effort and we dedicate ourselves to it, it's going to be hard to really take inventory of ourselves and realize what's not working. It's going to be hard to undo those patterns, not just our own patterns, but the patterns we have with our husband and our kids and everyone around us who might be fighting us and baiting us into the old patterns. It's going to be hard to learn new things and tell ourselves new ideas that sound foreign because they're different to what we've always been telling ourselves. But when we do it and we stick to it and we focus on what we want to create, and we give ourselves permission to work towards that goal, that's when we can actually create the life we've always wanted, be the woman that we want to be. It is not something that will come naturally, because naturally we are physical beings, but we also have an ability to be above nature. We have our soul. We have our neshama, our nefet, our that innate part of ourselves that says we want more. We want to grow. We want to be better. We want more in our lives. And that will take growth. That will take change. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with us. If anything, that fact that we feel that desire is an indication that we understand that we are worth, that we are able to accomplish more, that we really have more value that we can bring into fruition. And so Be'ezrat Hashem, as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, right? Not just making all the food and all of that, which, is its own thing, its own avoda. But as we get ready to really stand in front of Hashem, wherever we're going to do it, at home, in shul, on our couch, it's really I really invite you to step into that experience, asking yourself, when I say that I want to make Hashem my king, what does that mean to me personally? What does that mean to me personally in my life that Hashem will be my king? What does that mean? How will I live more consciously of the reality of the world and who I want to be in the world? And choose for yourself even one goal. And then we get to ask ourselves, in line with like the Malchiot, Zichronot, Shofrot. I love Rosh Hashanah davening. It's so full of meaning. Malchiot is all about, I want to make Hashem my king. I want to live my life in that meaning. And Zichrono, I want to remember that every day. I don't want for a year to go by and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, all those resolutions I made last year, I kind of want to make the same ones and I don't think anything's changed. No, I want to live this every day. I don't want to just say Aleinu every day is the end of davening. I want to say Aleinu because I'm reliving Rosh Hashanah every day. What do I need to do to remember that? What do I need to do to put it into fruition every day? What do I need to learn? What do I need to work on? Where do I need support? So that the idea of shofrot is like we embody Hashem in this world, right? That Hashem is known. The shofar always signifies when we know Hashem. What can I do in my life that I know that Hashem is with me, right? And that I can connect to others from that place. And I know I don't want to sound all like airy-fairy here. This is like practical work, right? Where we can ask ourselves practically, what do I want to work on so that I'm living a more conscious life based on who I want to be? How can I bring that into my life on a practical level, right? What can I do to make sure that that happens so that next year I'm in a different place, right? I've accomplished, I've moved forward. And that's something that we can allow ourselves to think and allow ourselves to be able to work through within ourselves when we let go of that should, right? That I should be able to just do this on my own. I shouldn't have to change. I'm fine the way I am. Of course you are. You're amazing. You're here. You care. You're dedicated. Of course, you are enough right here in this moment. But Rosh Hashanah is all about recognizing that we can be more. We can bring more into this world. We can accomplish more. Not from a place of lacking, from a place of recognizing that we have that value inside us and we can bring it out even further over the coming year. And I bless you all as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah, as we really stand in front of Hashem. Next time, I guess we won't have Coffee and Connection next week. So in 2 weeks' time, on Erev Yom Kippur, when we meet together again, right? Erev Yom Kippur, whatever it is, right? That we should have the strength and the clarity to recognize the amazingness of who we are. And with that, to be able to see for ourselves a glimpse of what else can be possible. To realize what we want more, how we more want to be our awesome selves in this world. And then figuring out, what do I need to do to make that happen? What do I need to learn? Where do I need support? Where do I need to grow? In what area? So that I can further my journey in this world. I can further my journey of becoming, of really becoming, right? Stepping into being the amazing person that I am. I bless all of us with that clarity and that strength. It's not an easy thing to do. We can get overwhelmed and be hard on ourselves and not make any decisions to help us move forward. We can feel stuck where we are. So it really takes a lot of courage to say, I can do this. And if I'm feeling stuck, then what do I need to do to overcome that? Okay. So I hope this was helpful for everyone. And I invite you to, ask me any questions that you have. Reach out and share with me your intention for the coming year. What are you going to do? Where do you see that you want to grow further? And any steps that you feel you want to take to make that happen, or anywhere that you feel stuck in being able to step into being the woman that you want to be. And I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. I want to wish you all a Shana Tova. May it be a sweet and loving year where we can all feel even more connected to ourselves, to our spouses, to our families, to each other, and to Hashem. And until next time, next year, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Shana Tova u'metuka.